Welcome back. We're talking about copyright this week, so let's crack on with that. So now in this video, we're going to look at who owns copyright and how long it lasts for. So who owns it? It depends on the date the work was created, which is a little bit annoying and a little bit confusing, but there you go. There's the law here. So it depends on when it was created. So the key date is August the 1st, 1989. So big enough brains, you can remember that. August the 1st, 1989 is the date when things changed. So before August the 1st, 1989, the way the law worked then was that copyright was owned by whoever had commissioned the work. So if I told you to go and take a photograph, I would own the copyright. Because I had commissioned the work, I had ordered it to be done. Since August the 1st, 1989, the person who creates it, the author or the first owner, owns the copyright. So if since August the 1st, 1989, if I ordered you to go and take a photograph, you would own the copyright. So before August 1st, 1989, I ordered a photograph, I own it. Since August 1st, 1989, you take the photograph, you own it. There are occasionally contracts. If you're a photographer who works for a newspaper, you might sign a contract which say that the employer owns the copyright. But if you're a freelance and you take a photograph for a newspaper, even if or for a website or whoever, even if they've told you to go and take that photograph or take that footage, you still own the copyright. So it's an important point to remember that when you're trying to work out who it is who actually owns the copyright. So 1st of August 1989, key date. As well as working out who owns the copyright, you need to work out who has what they call moral rights. So the moral rights are in addition to the ownership of the copyright. So even since 1st of August 1989, if I do commission a photograph, so I tell you to go and take it, I do have moral rights over that photograph. And if it's of a personal or private issue, I can assert my moral rights over that photograph. So even though I don't own the copyright, I have the right to the private use of a photo that I've ordered or commissioned. And in which case you would need to get the commissioner's permission, the person who ordered the photograph. So even if you've got the permission from the copyright owner, if there's someone who has moral rights over that photograph, then you should seek their permission as well. And they are able to seek damages from you if you publish it. If you publish a photograph without permission of the person who has moral rights over that. So a wedding photograph is the classic example where you might hire a wedding photographer to come and to take pictures on the day. So since the 1st of August 1989, they are the first author, the person who took the photographs and therefore owns the copyright. But the bride and groom will have been the people who commissioned that photographer, so they would have moral rights over those photographs. So if you had a wedding photograph you wanted to publish, you would need to certainly seek out the photographer, but you would also need to seek out the couple who had commissioned the photographs as well, for them, because they own they have the moral rights. The important point to mention about the author or creator, so they also have a moral right in addition to owning the copyright. They have the moral right to be identified as the author or creator. So if you use a photograph and they give you permission to use it as the copyright owner, you should identify them. So you should say, copyright by, or copyright : Ian Wood, or whoever it is who took the picture. So you should identify who it is who took the picture, and you certainly shouldn't use people's pictures and distort them and to make them worse than they are, to make them look blurred or whatever, and misattribute them in that way. So they have a moral right to have their work presented properly, not to have it presented in a derogatory fashion. And all of us have a moral right not to have work falsely attributed to us, which should be obvious, but you can't say that a particular work, a particular unpleasant photograph was taken by somebody if it wasn't. Why on earth you'd want to do that, I don't know, but that's a moral right you have. Yeah, be careful with social media sites. So whilst you might be able to see a photograph or a sort of footage on a site like Facebook, for instance, it may exclude, even though the license, when you sign up for it, they might say it's an open content license, so anything that's posted on there is okay for Facebook to use in terms of copyright, but that license may not extend to commercial use. So you need to be quite careful about what it is you take from social media, particularly if it's in a private area, which you can only see if you're a friend or something of that sort. If you were to just burgle things straight from Facebook, you need to be very careful about what this copyright permission or situation is. Good practice is always to contact people and say, can I use your picture, please? More often than not, people are okay with that because they've already published it on Facebook, but just because they've published it on Facebook doesn't necessarily mean they've given you permission to reuse it. So yeah, just because it can be seen online doesn't waive copyright. And there's plenty of examples where people have fallen foul of the law because they've seen a photograph published on somebody's website and they've thought, well, it's been published online, so we'll just reuse it. You cannot take that photograph and use it yourself. You can link to the photograph as seen on that person's website or on that person's social media, but you should be very careful before you take it without permission. How long does it last for is another question I hear you asking. So there are limits. For literature, drama, music, or other artistic works, it's the author's lifetime plus 70 years after that. So that's the reason why Jane Austen novels are particularly cheap, because they've run out of copyright. There's no copyright, so they can be copied and reproduced by anyone, because it's more than 70 years since the author died. Sound recordings, so that's now also 70 years, and that's quite a recent thing. We've now got recording artists, people like Cliff Richard, who have lived so long that they've got to the point where the copyright was about to expire, and they launched a legal challenge to that. They've now extended it to 70 years after the sound recording was made. So not after they died. It's since the sound recording was made. There's 70 years. Graphics and computer-generated music. There's 50 years from the time that it's made. So bottom line is there's different periods of copyright for different types of material, so you need to be aware. So it's always worth looking up how long it is that the copyright lasts for, just to be sure that you are either using copyright-free material or whether you're within the copyright period. So I'm just going to end this short video here, and in the third video we're going to look at defences and remedies that can be used in order to be able to get around copyright law when it's possible. I'll see you in the next video.